My name is Theodora Whitlock. I am 24 years old and in 6 months I will be dead. I know this because Dr.
Tell me the
Silas
truth. Is there
Blackwood
a
showed me the
cure?
numbers
The
last
book
Tuesday.
confirms it. The prognosis is
Lead
grave.
poisoning
Then what
advanced
hope is
stage.
left?
We must act
My
now.
liver is destroying
This
itself
cannot
from
be
the
ignored.
inside
You must
out.
answer.
My
I
hand
have done
shakes
nothing
so
wrong.
badly
Your
now that I
silence
can barely
condemns
hold
you.
this pen. See how the letters waver. By next month, I will need my sister Louisa to write for me. By winter, I will need her to speak for me. By spring, there will be nothing left to say. But before I die, I need you to understand something. I need you to know that I did everything right. I was the perfect lady. I followed every rule, obeyed every instruction, embodied every virtue that Boston society demanded of a young woman of good breeding. And that is precisely what killed me. This is my confession, my testimony, my warning. This is the truth about what it meant to be beautiful in the year of our Lord, 1875. The morning of June the 3rd begins like every morning has begun for the past 11 years. Darkness still fills my bedroom at 5:30 when I hear the door open. No knock. There never is. A lady does not lock her door against her own servants. Marcy enters carrying the silver tray, her footsteps silent on the Turkish carpet that has not been beaten clean in 8 months. The room smells of lavender sachets and something else underneath, something sour and organic that the lavender cannot quite mask. I do not open my eyes yet. I am learning to notice things I never noticed before. The way the mattress beneath me has a permanent indentation shaped like my body. The way my nightgown sticks to my skin even though the June morning is cool. The way my scalp has itched for so long that I barely register it anymore, like a sound you stop hearing because it never stops. Good morning, Miss Thea. Marcy's voice is soft, tinged with the French accent she has never quite lost despite 12 years in America. She sets the tray on the bedside table. I hear the gentle clink of glass bottles. Now I open my eyes. The ceiling above me is cracked in 17 places. I have counted them many times during sleepless nights when the itching grows too intense to ignore. The wallpaper, once a delicate pattern of roses, has faded to the color of old bone. There is a water stain in the corner, shaped like a hand reaching downward. It has been there for 2 years. I sit up slowly. My corset was loosened last night, but not removed. A lady does not sleep without proper foundation. Garments and the steel bones dig into my ribs as I move. There is a particular spot beneath my left breast where the skin has broken down into a permanent sore. It weeps a clear fluid that stains my chemise. I have learned not to mention this to Mother. Marcy moves to open the heavy velvet curtains. Morning light spills across the room, revealing dust motes dancing in the air. So much dust. It settles on every surface ground into the carpet embedded in the curtains, floating in the very air we breathe. The windows have not been opened in 3 months. Mother says fresh air carries miasmas, invisible poisons that cause consumption and fever. Better to breathe our own exhalations, apparently. Better to marinate in our own decay. The tray, Miss. Marcy gestures to the bedside table. I look at what she has brought. Not a basin of water. Never water. That would be dangerous, you see. Cold water can stop the heart, or so Mother insists. Instead, there is a folded linen cloth, slightly damp. Next to it, a small crystal bowl filled with vinegar. And beside that, 3 cut glass bottles of different sizes, each containing a different perfume. This is how a lady of Boston begins her day in the year 1875. I reach for the cloth. Marcy has already dampened it with the vinegar, which fills the air with its sharp, acrid smell. I press it to my face. The vinegar stings. It always stings. It finds every tiny crack in my skin, every place where yesterday's cosmetic application has abraded the surface, and it burns. I count to 30 while holding the cloth against my cheeks, my forehead, my chin. This is what cleanses me. This is what protects me from the dangers of actual water. When I lower the cloth, my face is red and inflamed. By the time I go downstairs for breakfast, the redness will have faded to a becoming pink. By afternoon, it will be hidden beneath a thick layer of chalky whiteness. The powder, Miss. Marcy holds out a porcelain jar. Whitmore and Sons Pearl Complexion Powder, the finest available. $2 per jar, which lasts approximately 2 weeks if one applies it properly. I have been using this powder since I turned 13. That was 11 years ago. I do the mathematics in my head sometimes late at night when I cannot sleep. 26 jars per year, 11 years. 286 jars. $572 spent on this substance that makes me beautiful. $572 spent on poison. But I do not know this yet. Not on this June morning. On this morning, I still believe. I open the jar. The powder inside is soft as silk white as fresh snow. It smells of roses and something else. something metallic that I have never been able to identify. I dip the rabbit fur puff into the powder and begin to apply it to my face. Slowly, carefully. A thick, even layer that transforms my natural complexion into the pale, ethereal whiteness that marks a lady of refinement. The powder burns slightly as it settles into my pores. I used to complain about this. I was 14, I think, and I told Mother that the powder made my face hurt. She smiled and patted my hand and said, "That means it is working, darling. Beauty requires sacrifice." I believed her. I apply the powder to my neck, my décolletage down to where my chemise begins, then to my hands, my wrists, my forearms. By the time I finish, I look like a porcelain doll, perfectly colorless, perfectly still, perfectly bloodless. "Your hair, miss." Marcy's voice is carefully neutral. My hair. I have not washed my hair in 3 weeks. Not with water, at least. Water weakens the hair, Mother says. It strips away natural oils and causes the hair to become brittle and break. Instead, I use powder. Rice powder mixed with lavender and orris root. It absorbs the oil, you see. It makes the hair look clean without the danger of actually cleaning it. Marcy begins to work. She sections my hair and sprinkles the powder through it with practiced efficiency. White dust falls on my shoulders on the floor into the air, where it mingles with all the other dust in this room that has not seen fresh air in months. As she works, I see them, moving in my hair, small dark shapes against the lighter strands. I have excellent eyesight, one of the few parts of my body that the cosmetics have not yet damaged, and I can see them clearly in the morning light. Lice, perhaps 40 or 50 of them. They move slowly through the forest of my hair, feeding on my scalp, laying their eggs in clusters near the roots. I say nothing. Marcy says nothing. We both pretend not to see them. Everyone has them. Every lady in Boston, from the wealthiest on Beacon Hill to the poorest shopkeeper's daughter. We all have lice in our hair. We all scratch when we think no one is looking. We all find them on our pillows in the morning, crushed against the linen, small brown bodies that we brush away and never mention. It is normal. It is refined. It is what ladies do. The powder application complete, Marcy begins to dress me. This is a process that will take 45 minutes. First, the chemise. I have been wearing this particular chemise for 9 days. It is made of fine linen, now stiff with sweat and oil, and other secretions that accumulate when fabric presses against skin day after day without being washed. It smells of my body, of the perfume I have been spraying on it, to mask that smell of something faintly rotten that I cannot quite identify. There is a stain near the hem. Menstrual blood from last month. It did not wash out. Not that anyone tried very hard. One does not discuss such things with the laundress. One simply wears the stained chemise and hopes the outer layers hide it. Next, the corset. This is a newer model purchased only 6 months ago. It has 14 steel bones and laces up the back with cotton cord that has worn grooves into Marcy's hands. She pulls. I breathe out. She pulls harder. I grip the bedpost and try not to gasp as my ribs compress, as my internal organs shift upward and inward, as my waist reduces from its natural 24 inches to a fashionable 20 inches. 4 inches. 4 inches of flesh in bone and organ compressed into a smaller space. This is beauty. This is refinement. This is what makes a man look at you and see not a person but an ideal. The lace is tight. I can take only shallow breaths now. Deep breathing is impossible. Running is impossible. Bending is difficult. Sitting requires careful positioning. But my waist is 20 inches, and when I stand sideways, my silhouette is perfect. There is a place beneath my left breast where the corset rubs. Always the same place. The skin there is red and raw and weeping. I mentioned this to Mother last month. She said it would toughen eventually. She said her own corset scars were a mark of discipline and self-control. I am still waiting for the skin to toughen. Over the corset, Marcy layers the petticoats. 3 of them today, as it is summer, and we can dispense with the heavier winter layers. But these 3 still weigh 8 pounds combined. 8 pounds of cotton and linen and lace hanging from my compressed waist, pulling down on the corset, making every movement an exercise in balance. Finally, the dress. Today's selection is a morning dress of pale blue silk with cream-colored lace at the collar and cuffs. It has not been cleaned since I purchased it 6 weeks ago. One does not clean silk dresses frequently. The process is laborious and risks damaging the fabric. Instead, one airs them out, brushes off any visible dirt, and applies more perfume. I can smell the dress as Marcy lifts it over my head. It smells of me, of sweat trapped between layers of fabric, of perfume sprayed daily to mask that sweat, of the sour, sweet smell of a body that has not been properly cleaned in far too long. but it looks beautiful. The blue silk catches the morning light. The lace is delicate and feminine. When I look in the mirror, I see a lady of refinement and taste. I do not see the woman rotting inside those beautiful clothes. The dressing complete, I make my way downstairs to breakfast. This is a journey of approximately 40 steps. With the corset compressing my organs and the petticoats weighing me down, I must move slowly, carefully, one hand on the banister. My breath comes in shallow gasps. Sweat begins to form on my brow, threatening to streak the powder. I pause on the landing to spray more perfume. L'Amour de Paris, purchased from the French perfumer on Boylston Street for $3 per bottle. I spray it on my neck, my wrist, the front of my dress. The scent is overwhelming, roses and jasmine, and something chemical underneath that makes my eyes water. But it covers the smell of my unwashed body, so I spray more. The breakfast room is already occupied when I enter. Father sits at the head of the table, hidden behind his newspaper. Judge Cornelius Whitlock, 56 years old, respected member of the Boston Bar, a man who has sentenced criminals to death, but has never once questioned why his own daughters are dying in front of him. Mother sits to his right. Vivian Whitlock, 51 years old, the perfect lady. She is wearing a morning dress of lavender silk. Her face is ghostly pale beneath its cosmetic mask. Her hands, resting delicately on the tablecloth, tremble slightly. They have trembled for as long as I can remember. I used to think it was simply her nature, that delicate feminine tremor that marks a lady of sensibility. Now I wonder. My sister Louisa sits across from Mother, 16 years old, still more girl than woman, though Mother has been training her for 4 years now in the arts of refinement. Louisa's face is painted the same deathly white as Mother's and mine, but I can see red patches beneath the cosmetic layer where her skin is rebelling against the poison. She is scratching her wrist under the table, trying to be subtle about it. A rash has been spreading there for the past month. Mother says it is nerves. I take my seat. A servant I do not recognize brings coffee in a silver pot. It is weak and bitter, as coffee always is in this house. We cannot have it too strong. Strong coffee overexcites the female constitution. Good morning, Theodora. Mother's voice is carefully modulated, neither too loud nor too soft. A lady's voice should be pleasant to hear, never strident. You look lovely today, though perhaps a bit more powder on your left cheek. I can see a hint of natural color. Natural color is to be avoided at all costs. Natural color suggests health, vitality, vigor, all things that are inappropriate for a lady. A proper lady is pale, delicate, hovering always on the edge of a refined invalidism that proves her sensitivity and breeding. I excuse myself. Retreat to the powder room, apply more Whitmore and Sons pearl complexion, powder to my left cheek. When I return, Mother nods approvingly. We eat in near silence. Weak tea, toast with butter, a soft-boiled egg that I can barely taste through the metallic flavor that has been coating my tongue for the past 6 months. Father reads his newspaper. Mother sips her tea with unsteady fingers. Louisa pushes her egg around her plate, her face slightly green. Are you unwell, Louisa? Mother's voice carries a hint of reproach. No, Mother. Simply not hungry this morning. A lady must maintain her strength. But Mother's own plate is barely touched. She has grown thinner in the past year, her skin taking on a yellowish cast beneath the powder. But we do not mention this. We do not mention the way her hands shake, the way she sometimes loses her train of thought, mid-sentence, the way she has stopped attending evening engagements, because the effort of dressing exhausts her. We pretend, we smile, we powder our faces and tighten our corsets and say nothing about the slow decay happening in these beautiful rooms. The doorbell rings. Our butler Michaels appears in the doorway. Mr. Beauregard Thornhill to see Miss Theodora. My heart does something complicated in my chest. Beau, he has come to call as he has been calling for the past 3 months. We are not yet engaged, but everyone understands that we will be. It is expected. It is proper. It is what happens when a young lady of good family and a young attorney of good prospects are introduced at the correct social functions and display the correct level of mutual interest. I excuse myself and move to the drawing room where Beau waits. He is handsome in the way that young Boston attorneys are handsome, well-groomed, well-dressed, well-mannered. 29 years old, Harvard educated. From a family almost as old as ours, though, with slightly more money. He takes my hand and bows over it. His lips do not quite touch my glove. As he bends, I see at the slightest wrinkle of his nose, the briefest flicker of something in his eyes. He smells me. Underneath the 3 bottles of perfume I have applied this morning, underneath the powder and the carefully maintained facade, he smells the reality of my unwashed body. My stomach clenches. I pull my hand back slightly. Miss Whitlock. His voice is warm, cultivated. You look as lovely as always. But I heard what I heard. I saw what I saw. That tiny moment of recognition of distaste quickly masked, but undeniable. We sit. We talk. We discuss the weather, the upcoming summer season, the party that the Cabots are hosting next week. His words wash over me like water, meaningless and distant. I am thinking about that wrinkle of his nose. I am thinking about how much perfume I will need to apply tomorrow. I am thinking about whether he notices my hands trembling, whether he can see beneath the cosmetic veneer to the truth underneath. When he leaves, he kisses my hand again. This time I am certain. His breath catches slightly. He pulls away a fraction faster than propriety requires. He knows. He knows what lies beneath the silk and lace and carefully applied powder. He knows, and he is repulsed. But he will marry me anyway, because this is what Boston society does. We marry our equals regardless of what truths we discover in the process. Love is not required. Honesty is not required. Only the appearance of propriety. I return to my room after he leaves. Marcy is changing the bed linens, a task performed once every 2 weeks, as more frequent changing is considered wasteful. The sheets she removes are gray, with use damp, with 2 weeks of nighttime sweat, spotted with blood, and other fluids that accumulate when a body occupies the same space night after night. She does not comment. She simply bundles them up and replaces them with sheets that are marginally cleaner, though they too carry the musty smell of linens that have been stored in a damp room for too long. I sit at my dressing table and look at myself in the mirror. Chalky face, bloodless lips, hands that quiver when I try to hold them still. I am beautiful. I am refined. I am everything a Boston lady should be. I am also, I realize with sudden clarity, dying. The thought arrives fully formed, undeniable. I am dying. Slowly perhaps, but certainly. My hands shake because something is wrong inside my body. My skin breaks down because the powder I apply to it every day is not protecting it, but destroying it. My head aches constantly because I never breathe clean air. My stomach rebels because I am laced so tightly that my organs cannot function properly. I am dying, and everyone around me is dying too. Mother with her trembling hands and yellow skin. Louisa with her spreading rashes and constant fatigue. The ladies I see at church every Sunday growing thinner and paler and more refined with each passing year. We are all dying, and we call it beauty. That afternoon, I attend a tea party at the home of Mrs. Elizabeth Pemberton. This is a regular Thursday occurrence. A dozen ladies of appropriate age and social standing gather to drink weak tea and eat small cakes and discuss absolutely nothing of importance. The Pemberton drawing room is stifling. The windows are closed tight against the June heat, the heavy curtains drawn to protect the carpet from sun damage. 15 women sit in this airless space wearing our corsets and our layers and our powder. The smell is overwhelming. Perfume and sweat and something sour, all mixed together in the trapped air. I count the pale faces around me. Every single woman here is painted the same ghostly white. Every single one is laced tight. Every single one sits with the careful stillness of someone who cannot breathe deeply, who cannot move freely, who exists in a constant state of controlled discomfort. Mrs. Pemberton's daughter, Genevieve, sits next to me. She is 23, engaged to be married in the fall. Her hands shake as she lifts her teacup. I watch the tremor, the way the tea ripples in the delicate china cup, the way she has to concentrate to keep from spilling. "Are you well, Genevieve?" I ask quietly. She smiles. It does not reach her eyes. Simply tired. The preparations for the wedding, you understand. But I see beneath the smile, I see the yellowish tinge to her skin beneath the powder. I see the way she breathes shallowly, carefully, as if deep breathing causes pain. I see the truth that everyone else refuses to acknowledge. Genevieve is dying, just like Mother, just like me. The conversation flows around us. Mrs. Cabot discusses her new draperies. Miss Hartwell describes the latest fashion plates from Paris. Mrs. Thornhill Bow's mother makes a pointed comment about the importance of maintaining proper standards of refinement in an increasingly common age. No one mentions the smell. No one mentions the way we all shift carefully in our chairs, trying to find positions that do not make the corset bones dig quite so painfully. No one mentions the powder that cakes in the creases of our necks, the perfume that fails to mask what it is meant to mask, the obvious reality that we are all pretending not to see. This is civilization. This is refinement. This is what separates us from the immigrant women in the North End, the Irish washerwomen, who, it is whispered with great disdain, actually bathe their entire bodies with soap and water. How barbaric, how common, how wonderfully impossibly alive they must be. The thought strikes me with the force of revelation. Those common women, the ones we look down upon, the ones who scrub clothes in great tubs of soapy water and hang them in the sun to dry, they are not dying. They are not yellow-skinned and trembling. They are ruddy and strong and breathing deeply in their unrestricted clothes. We are killing ourselves with refinement, and they are surviving through honest labor. I open my mouth to say this, to speak this truth out loud in the airless drawing room full of dying women. But before I can form the words, Genevieve makes a small sound beside me. I turn just in time to see her eyes roll back, to see her body go limp, to watch as she slides from her chair to the floor in a graceful, silent collapse. Chaos erupts. Women rush to her side. Smelling salts are produced. Someone calls for a doctor, Mrs. Pemberton. Genevieve's mother kneels beside her daughter and pats her pale face, leaving marks on the perfect surface. I stand apart from the commotion. I watch as they lift Genevieve back into her chair, as they wave the smelling salts under her nose, as she slowly returns to consciousness with a confused, frightened expression. "I am sorry," she whispers. "I do not know what came over me. Perhaps I laced too tightly this morning." Everyone nods sympathetically. This is normal. This is expected. Ladies faint. It is a sign of our delicate constitutions, our refined sensibilities. The fact that Genevieve is the third woman I have seen faint this month alone is not mentioned. The fact that I have never seen an Irish washwoman faint is not discussed. We simply help her sit, offer her weak tea, adjust her corset slightly, and continue with our party as if nothing has happened. I leave early, claiming a headache. This is not a lie. I always have a headache now. The powder, the perfume, the trapped air, they combine to create a constant dull throb behind my eyes that I have learned to ignore the way I ignore the itching of my scalp and the burning of my skin and the pain in my ribs. Marcy helps me undress when I return home. She removes the layers one by one, the dress, the petticoats, the corset, finally loosened enough that I can breathe fully for the first time in 13 hours. I gasp with the relief of it, with the simple pleasure of air filling my lungs completely. "Miss Thea," Marcy says quietly, "you are bleeding again." I look down. She is right. The sore beneath my breast has opened further. Blood and clear fluid have soaked through the chemise, staining it dark. It is nothing. I say, though we both know this is not true. Marcy says nothing. She simply fetches a clean cloth and presses it to the wound. Our eyes meet in the mirror. In hers, I see something I have never seen before. Not pity, not sympathy, something harder, something like anger. "In France," she says, and then stops. "In France, what?" She is silent for a long moment. "Then in France, mademoiselle, even the poorest women bathe. They wash their hair. They use soap. Real soap, not powder, not perfume." I stare at her reflection. That cannot be healthy. Everyone knows water is dangerous. She meets my eyes directly, which servants are not supposed to do. "Is it dangerous, or is that what you have been told?" Before I can answer, before I can process this small rebellion, there is a commotion downstairs. Voices raised, running footsteps. Marcy and I rush to the door. It is Louisa. My 16-year-old sister has collapsed in the hallway unconscious, her powder-white face now showing an alarming flush of red beneath the cosmetic pallor. "Doctor." Silas Blackwood is summoned. He is our family physician, a man of 42 who studied in Edinburgh and returned to Boston with ideas that many of his colleagues consider dangerously progressive. He examines Louisa while Mother and I wait in the hallway, my mother's trembling hands clutched in her lap. When he emerges, his expression is grave. "Mrs. Whitlock, your daughter is severely anemic. She also appears to be suffering from some form of toxicity. I cannot say for certain without further examination, but her symptoms are consistent with heavy metal poisoning." Mother's face goes even paler beneath her powder. "That is impossible. Louisa has been perfectly healthy. She follows all proper protocols for a young lady's health." "And what are those protocols?" Dr. Blackwood's voice is carefully neutral. "She powders daily with the finest cosmetics. She avoids excessive bathing, which weakens the constitution. She maintains proper posture with appropriate foundation garments. She takes no vigorous exercise. She balm and... Forgive me, Mrs. Whitlock, but I must ask, what powder does Louisa use?" "Whitmore and Son's Pearl Complexion Powder, the very finest available." Something shifts in Dr. Blackwood's eyes. "I see. And Miss Theodora uses the same powder. Of course, it is what refined ladies use." He turns to look at me, then really look at me for the first time. His eyes move from my chalky face to my trembling hands to the way I stand carefully, still afraid that any sudden movement will make the corset bones dig deeper into the wound beneath my breast. "Miss Whitlock, may I examine you?" I look at Mother. She nods, though her expression suggests she finds the request somewhat improper. In the examination room, Dr. Blackwood asked me to remove my gloves. My hands, free from the kid leather, are mottled and discolored. The skin peels in places. My fingernails have a bluish tinge. He asked me to open my mouth. He examines my gums, which are receding and bleed easily. He looks at my tongue, which is coated in a white film that I thought was normal, but apparently is not. He asks permission to examine the wound beneath my breast. When I show him the weeping sore, his jaw tightens. How long have you been using the Whitmore powder, Miss Whitlock? Since I was 13, 11 years. And you apply it daily? Yes, to my face, neck, décolletage, arms. I see. He is quiet for a long moment. Then he pulls a pamphlet from his medical bag and hands it to me. The title reads, "On the Dangers of Cosmetic Lead, a Medical Warning." I cannot force you to read this, he says. But I can tell you that what you are experiencing, the trembling hands, the skin damage, the persistent metallic taste, the difficulty concentrating, these are all symptoms of lead poisoning. The powder you have been using for 11 years contains lead carbonate. You have been applying poison to your skin every day for more than a decade. The room seems to tilt. That cannot be right. Everyone uses this powder. My mother, my friends, every lady in Boston. Yes, his voice is heavy. Everyone is using it, and everyone is being poisoned by it. I stare at him. He stares back. In his eyes, I see something that terrifies me more than the diagnosis itself. I see certainty. I see knowledge. I see a man who has watched this same scene play out dozens, perhaps hundreds of times before. What about Louisa? I whisper. Louisa has been using the powder for 4 years. Her poisoning is less advanced than yours, but still significant. If she continues using it, he does not finish the sentence. He does not need to. And Mother, your mother's symptoms suggest she has been using lead-based cosmetics for decades. Her trembling, her yellow skin, her fatigue, these are all consistent with chronic lead poisoning. I sit down heavily, forgetting the corset, gasping as the steel bones dig into my ribs. Why has no one said anything? Why do doctors not warn us? Some have tried. His voice is bitter. I have tried. But the cosmetics industry is powerful, Miss Whitlock. They have friends in high places. They advertise in all the newspapers. They donate generously to medical schools. And most of my colleagues are more interested in maintaining good relationships with their wealthy patients than in telling those patients uncomfortable truths. I look down at the pamphlet in my hands. My vision blurs slightly, another symptom I realize now of the poison I have been applying to my face every morning for 11 years. What do I do? The question comes out as a whisper. Stop using the powder immediately. Bathe regularly, yes, with water, real water. Soap will not harm you. Fresh air will not harm you. Deep breathing will not cause consumption. He pauses. But I must warn you, Miss Whitlock. Society will not approve. You will be seen as eccentric, at best improper at worst. I think of Beau wrinkling his nose at my smell. I think of Mother's horrified reaction if I appeared at breakfast without powder. I think of the ladies at Mrs. Pemberton's tea party, all of us sitting in our airless room, all of us dying together in perfect refinement. Dr. Blackwood, I say slowly, if I stop using the powder, will I recover? His expression is compassionate but honest. Some of the damage may be permanent. Your trembling may persist. Your liver has been compromised. But yes, if you stop now, you will likely survive. Many women who continue using lead powder for as long as you have do not survive. He means they die. They die at 30, at 40, at 50. They die of mysterious wasting illnesses, of organ failure, of infections their poisoned bodies cannot fight. And everyone nods sadly and says, what a tragedy, what a loss, how fragile the female constitution is. No one says we killed her. With our beauty standards and our rigid protocols and our insistence that nature is dangerous and poison is safety, we killed her. I stand. The movement is careful, controlled. Years of corset training have taught me to move as if I am made of porcelain, as if sudden motion might shatter me. Perhaps it might. Perhaps I am already broken, have been broken for years, and have simply been too well trained to notice. Thank you, Dr. Blackwood. I would like to keep this pamphlet if I may. Of course. And Miss Whitlock, if you decide to make changes, I know women who can help. Women who have learned to live differently. Women who are surviving. I take the pamphlet back to my room. That night, after Marcy has helped me into my nightgown and left me alone in my bed that has not been properly cleaned in months, I read it by candlelight. The words blurred together, medical terminology, chemical formulas, statistics about absorption rates and toxicity levels. But one sentence stands out printed in bold letters at the bottom of the page. Lead poisoning is cumulative and largely irreversible. Prevention is the only cure. I set down the pamphlet. I look at myself in the small mirror on my bedside table. Even in the dim candlelight, I can see the white powder caked on my face. It fills every pore, every wrinkle, every crack in my damaged skin. It is in my hairline, in the creases of my neck, probably in my lungs, from breathing the powder-filled air of my bedroom for 11 years. I am 24 years old. I have been poisoning myself for 11 years. If I stop now, I might live to 30, 40 if I am fortunate. But the damage is done. The lead is in my bones, in my organs, in the very cells of my body. I did everything right. I followed every rule. I was the perfect lady. And now I am going to die. But Louisa has only been using the powder for 4 years. Louisa might still have time. Louisa might still be saved. I blow out the candle and lie in the darkness. My scalp itches with lice. My skin burns beneath the powder. My ribs ache where the corset has broken down the flesh. The sheets beneath me smell of weeks of accumulated sweat and body odor that no amount of lavender sachet can disguise. This is refinement. This is beauty. This is civilization. This is death wearing a silk dress. And tomorrow I will wake up and make a choice. I will either continue down this path, following it to its inevitable conclusion in a coffin lined with white satin, my poison white face peaceful in death as it never was in life. Or I will choose something else, something radical, something dangerous. I will choose to live. Over the next 3 days, I watch my family with new eyes. I watch Father at breakfast hiding behind his newspaper, as he has done for as long as I can remember. But now I notice things I never noticed before. The way his eyes flick toward Mother when she sets down her teacup with shaking hands. The way his jaw tightens when Louisa pushes away her plate too nauseated to eat. The way he looks at me, really looks at me when he thinks I am not watching. He knows something is wrong. He has always known. He simply does not know what to do about it. On the second day after Dr. Blackwood's diagnosis, I find Father in his study after dinner. This is unusual. I rarely enter this room. It is his sanctuary lined with law books and smelling of pipe tobacco and old leather. But tonight I knock on the door and wait for his gruff enter before stepping inside. He looks up from his papers, surprised. Theodora, is something wrong? Everything is wrong, I want to say. We are all dying and you are doing nothing. But I have been raised to be polite, to be gentle, to never speak uncomfortable truths. Father, I need to ask you something about Mother. He sets down his pen. His expression becomes guarded. What about your mother? How long have her hands been shaking? Silence. Long enough that I think he will not answer. Then, since before you were born, 25 years, perhaps more. And you never questioned it, never asked why. His face hardens. It is not a husband's place to question feminine matters. Her doctor assured me it was natural nervousness, a delicate constitution. Her doctor was wrong. I pull out Dr. Blackwood's pamphlet and set it on his desk. She is being poisoned. We are all being poisoned by the powder we use, by the protocols we follow, by everything society has told us is proper and safe. Father picks up the pamphlet. He reads slowly, his expression unchanging. But I see his knuckles whiten as he grips the paper. When he finishes, he is silent for a long moment. He stops, starts again. This is why Louisa collapsed. Yes. And why he gestures vaguely at my hands, which are trembling visibly now that I am tired and stressed. Yes. He sets down the pamphlet carefully as if it might explode. What does Dr. Blackwood recommend? That we stop using the powder, that we bathe with water and soap, I take a breath, that we disregard everything Mother has taught us about how ladies should live. Father stands. He walks to the window looking out at Beacon Street below. Gas lamps are being lit, casting pools of yellow light on the cobblestones. Carriages pass, carrying families to evening engagements. The whole city is going about its business, unaware that in this study, in this moment, something is shifting. Your mother will not accept this, he says finally. You know that, yes, she has lived by these rules her entire life. They are not just habits to her. They are identity, morality, everything she believes about what it means to be a good woman. I know. And if you defy her, she will see it as rebellion, as disrespect, as proof that she has failed to raise you properly. I know that too. He turns from the window. In the lamplight, he looks old, tired. But you are going to do it anyway. It is not a question. I am going to try to survive, Father, and I am going to try to help Louisa survive. If that is rebellion, then yes, I'm going to rebel. We look at each other across the study, father and daughter, judge and accused. But also, and this is new, surprising, two people who understand each other for perhaps the first time. I have been a coward, Theodora. His voice is quiet. I have watched your mother's health decline for 25 years. I have watched her powder her face every morning, watched her hands shake, watched her grow thinner and yellower. And I have said nothing, because it was easier to pretend, easier to trust the doctors and the customs and the comfortable lie that everything was normal. He moves to his desk, unlocks a drawer, and pulls out a leather wallet. From it, he extracts several bills. This is $50. Find whatever you need. Soap, clean clothes, whatever Dr. Blackwood recommends. And Theodora, he looks at me directly. If your mother forbids it, if society condemns it, if the entire city of Boston thinks you have lost your mind, do it anyway. I will not watch another daughter die from following all the rules. I take the money with shaking hands. Thank you, Father. Do not thank me. I should have done this 20 years ago, before. He does not finish. Before your mother was too far gone. Before the poison had decades to accumulate. Before it was too late. You are doing it now, I say. That is what matters. He nods once, sharp and decisive. Then he returns to his papers, conversation over. But as I leave, I hear him say so quietly I almost miss it. Save your sister Theodora and save yourself. I cannot lose both of you. That night I make my decision, not just to stop using the powder. That is obvious, necessary, already decided. But something more, something larger. If I am dying anyway, if I have only a few years left, then I will not waste them in silence. I will not die quietly while other women continue to poison themselves, believing the same lies I believed. I will speak. I will warn. I will count the bodies and name the killers and refuse to shut up, even if it costs me everything. Especially if it costs me everything. Because what is left to lose? My engagement to Beau is already doomed. He could barely stand the smell of me with perfume. He certainly will not want me without it. My social standing is fragile at best. My health is compromised beyond full repair. But my voice, my pen, my ability to tell the truth, those they have not taken from me yet. I light a candle and begin to write. Not a diary entry, not a letter, something else. The truth, all of it. Everything I have learned and noticed and finally allowed myself to see. I write until my hands cramp, until the candle burns low, until I hear the first sounds of the household stirring below, servants beginning their morning routines. And when Marcy enters at 5:30 with her tray of vinegar and powder and perfume, I am ready. Marcy, I say, tonight will you teach me how to wash, really wash, the way women do in France? She sets down the tray slowly. Her eyes search my face. Are you certain, miss, if Madame finds out? Let me worry about Mother. Will you teach me? For the first time since I have known her, Marcy smiles, really smiles. Not the careful servant's smile, but something genuine and fierce. Oui, mademoiselle. Tonight I will teach you how to live. The decision arrives not as a thunderclap, but as a whisper in the darkness of my bedroom at 3 in the morning, when the powder on my face has dried to a suffocating mask and I cannot sleep because my scalp burns with the movement of 100 tiny bodies feeding on my blood. I will stop. 3 simple words, but they carry the weight of revolution. I will stop applying poison to my face. I will stop pretending that vinegar is cleaner than water. I will stop lacing myself into a cage that crushes my organs and breaks my skin. I will stop participating in my own slow murder. But I will do it quietly, carefully, because I am still enough of a Boston lady to understand that open rebellion will accomplish nothing except my complete social exile. And if I am to help Louisa, if I am to warn other women, I cannot do it from outside society's walls. I must work from within, even as I dismantle everything I have been taught to believe. Morning comes. Marcy enters with her tray. The silver bottles catch the early light. Vinegar, perfume, and in the porcelain jar, the white powder that has been killing me for 11 years. Marcy, I say, and my voice sounds strange even to my own ears. I need to ask you something. In France, you said women bathe with water, real water. She sets down the tray slowly. Her eyes meet mine, and I see in them a flicker of something, hope, perhaps, or fear. Yes, mademoiselle. Could you teach me? Not here. Mother cannot know. But somewhere, could you teach me what that is like? For a long moment, she is silent. Then she nods once, a sharp, decisive motion. Tonight, when the house sleeps, I will show you. The day passes in excruciating normalcy. I apply the powder less than usual, just enough to avoid Mother's notice. I dress in my layers. I lace the corset, but I instruct Marcy to leave it looser than before, only 2 inches of reduction instead of 4. When she asks why, I simply say that the wound beneath my breast needs room to heal. She understands. She says nothing. She simply nods and ties the laces with the new measurement. Already I can breathe differently. Not deeply, not yet, but differently. The air reaches parts of my lungs that have been compressed for so long I had forgotten they existed. At breakfast, Mother examines me with narrowed eyes. "Theodora, you look rather flushed this morning. Are you using less powder?" "No, Mother. Perhaps it is the heat." The lie comes easily. I have been trained in deception all my life after all. We call it manners. She accepts this with a small nod. Father says nothing, but he catches my eye across the table and gives the slightest inclination of his head. Approval, support, permission to continue. Louisa watches me with open curiosity. She knows something has changed. Sisters always know. That afternoon, Louisa appears at my bedroom door. She closes it carefully behind her and leans against it, breathing hard. The effort of climbing the stairs has exhausted her. This is what Mother calls delicate constitution. Dr. Blackwood would call it organ damage from poisoning and restriction. "Thea," her voice is barely a whisper, "what did Dr. Blackwood tell you yesterday after he examined you?" I consider lying. The old Theodora, the obedient one, would protect her younger sister from uncomfortable truths. But the new Theodora, the one who read about lead poisoning by candlelight, the one who felt her first full breath in years, she knows that protection and poisoning are sometimes the same thing. "He told me that the powder we use contains lead, that we have been poisoning ourselves, that Mother has been poisoning herself for 30 years, and you for 4, and I for 11. Louisa's hand goes to her face, touching the chalky surface as if she can feel the poison beneath. "That cannot be true. Mother would not." "Mother does not know." I speak gently but firmly. "She was taught the same lies we were taught. That water is dangerous. That powder protects. That beauty requires sacrifice. She believes these things because she was trained to believe them, just as we were. But everyone uses this powder. All the ladies. If it were truly poisonous, surely someone would have said something." I hand her the pamphlet Dr. Blackwood gave me. "Read this. Then tell me if you still believe that everyone would speak up." She takes it with trembling hands, hands that tremble for the same reason mine do, for the same reason Mother's do. Lead poisoning affects the nervous system. It accumulates in the bones. It destroys the body from the inside while we smile and powder our faces and pretend that this is what civilization looks like. While she reads, I watch her face. I see the moment comprehension arrives. The way her eyes widen. The way her breath catches. The way her hand unconsciously goes to her stomach, where the corset compresses organs that are already struggling to process the poison we have been feeding them. "Oh God." The words come out as a whisper. "Genevieve, at the tea party yesterday, when she fainted. Is she poisoned?" "Yes, we are all poisoned, Louisa. Every lady in Boston who follows the proper protocols for refinement. We are killing ourselves, and we call it beauty." She sets down the pamphlet. Her hands are shaking harder now, and I cannot tell if it is from the lead, or from fear, or from rage. Perhaps all three. "What do we and we think about you? Not what should I do, we." This is how rebellion begins. Not with grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but with one person asking another, "What do we do?" Tonight, I tell her Marcy is going to show me how women in France wash themselves. Really wash. With water and soap. You should come. Mother will. Mother is asleep by 10 o'clock every night. She takes laudanum for her headaches. Headaches that are almost certainly caused by lead poisoning, but I do not say this aloud. She will not know. Louisa is silent for a long moment, then she nods. "I will come." That night, after Mother has retired to her room and Father has retreated to his study with his brandy and his legal documents, Marcy comes to my room. She carries nothing but a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "Come," she says quietly, "both of you." We follow her through the darkened house, moving silently in our nightgowns, 2 white ghosts haunting our own home. She leads us not to the washroom, Mother would hear the water running, but to the kitchen, where the servants bathe once a week in water heated over the great stove. The kitchen is empty now, the fire's banked for the night. But Marcy has prepared. There are 2 large basins filled with water. Steam rises from them in the dim lamplight. "This is hot water," she says, gesturing to the basins. "Clean heated just now. And this?" She unwraps the bundle to reveal a bar of pale yellow soap. "Is soap. Real soap, made from lemon, lye, and fat, nothing more. No lead, no arsenic, no poison. Louisa and I stare at the basins as if they contain something exotic and dangerous. In a sense, they do. We have been taught all our lives that water is the enemy, that immersing ourselves in it will cause consumption, fever chills, weakness, death. But we have also just learned that what we thought was safety was actually poison. I will show you, Marcy says. She rolls up her sleeves. She is wearing a simple cotton shift and dips her hands into the water. Not tentatively, not fearfully. She simply puts her hands into the hot water as if this is the most natural thing in the world. You wet the skin, she says. Then you take the soap. She rubs the bar between her wet hands and foam appears. White, clean foam that smells nothing like the perfumes we spray on ourselves. It smells pure, simple, honest. She rubs the soap foam over her hands, her wrists, her forearms. Then she rinses them in the water. When she lifts her hands out, they are pink and clean and whole. No cosmetic mask, no perfume, just skin-healthy human skin. Your turn, she says, looking at me. I step forward. My heart is pounding. This feels like crossing some invisible line, like stepping off the edge of the known world into territory that has been marked as dangerous on all the maps. I dip my hands into the water. It is warm. Not burning, not cold, just warm and welcoming. My powder-coated hands turn the clear water slightly gray as the cosmetic begins to dissolve. I can see the swirls of white poison floating away from my skin. Marcy hands me the soap. I rub it between my hands as she showed me. The foam forms easily, and I begin to wash. Really wash. Not wiping with vinegar, not spraying with perfume. Washing with water and soap the way humans have been washing themselves for thousands of years before some man in Boston decided that water was dangerous and powder was safe. The soap stings where my skin is damaged, where the powder has eaten through the surface and created small wounds. But beneath the sting there is something else. Relief, the feeling of being clean. Actually clean, not perfumed, not masked. Clean. I rinse my hands. The water runs gray, then clearer, then clean. When I lift my hands out, I can see my actual skin for the first time in years. It is red and damaged and scarred, but it is mine. Real, not hidden beneath layers of poison. Louisa goes next. She washes her hands with the careful attention of someone performing a sacred ritual. When she finishes, we stand together, looking at our clean hands in the lamplight. Is this all? Louisa's voice is small. We just wash with water, and that is enough. Marcy smiles. It is a sad smile weighted with knowledge. That is enough. Water and soap. The same thing every peasant woman in Europe has known for centuries. The same thing your mother and your grandmother and every woman in Boston has been told will kill them. But we have been using vinegar, I say. Vinegar is supposed to cleanse without the danger of water. Vinegar burns the skin. Marcy's voice is matter of fact. It creates tiny wounds. Then you apply powder that contains lead, which enters your body through those wounds. The vinegar does not protect you. It helps poison you more effectively. The words land like stones in still water, sending ripples of realization through everything I thought I knew. We have been systematically destroying ourselves. Not through ignorance, though. There is ignorance, but through a carefully constructed system of beauty practices designed to make us helpless, delicate, dependent, designed to keep us weak enough that we cannot threaten the order of things. May we wash more than our hands? I ask. Marcy nods. If you wish, I can heat more water. She leaves us alone in the kitchen while she fetches more. Louisa and I stand in silence looking at our clean hands. Finally, she speaks. Thea, if we stop using the powder, if we start bathing with water, Mother will know. Everyone will know. They will say we have become common, unrefined. They will say we have lost our minds. I know. Beau will end your engagement. Perhaps. I think of the way he wrinkled his nose at my smell, even beneath the perfume. Or perhaps he will prefer a wife who does not reek of rot beneath her rosewater. Louisa laughs a small, startled sound. Then her face grows serious. I am frightened. So am I. But you are still going to do it. Stop using the powder. Start washing. I look at my hands. Red, damaged, but clean. Yes, because the alternative is dying slowly while pretending everything is fine. And I find I am tired of pretending. Marcy returns with more hot water. Over the next hour, she teaches us what she learned growing up in a small village in France, what every woman outside of refined Boston society knows instinctively how to bathe. We wash our faces first. The powder dissolves in the water, revealing the damaged skin beneath. My face is red and inflamed, covered in small sores where the powder has eaten through. Louisa's is better. She has only been using it for 4 years, but still scarred. The soap stings. The water feels strange against skin that has not been truly wet in months. But as the powder washes away, I can feel my face again. I can feel the air against my actual skin, not against a cosmetic mask. We wash our hair next. This is a longer process. 11 years of powder have built up in my hair, and it takes multiple washings with soap and water to remove it all. As the powder dissolves, the lice that have been living in my hair wash away too, their small brown bodies floating in the increasingly dirty water. I cry as I wash my hair. Not from pain, though. The soap stings my scalp. I cry because I am washing away years of accumulated filth and calling it refinement. I cry because I am realizing how much I have been trained to ignore, to pretend not to see, to accept as normal. I cry because I am angry, furiously bone-deep angry at every person who taught me these lies, who enforced these standards, who valued my appearance over my survival. By the time we finish, the water in the basins is gray and scummy, with dissolved powder, dead lice, and years of accumulated dirt. We stand in our wet nightgowns, our clean hair hanging loose around our shoulders, our faces bare and damaged and real. Marcy brings us towels, rough cotton, nothing like the soft linen we use in our rooms, and we dry ourselves. She has also brought clean nightgowns, ones that have actually been washed, that smell of soap and sunshine, instead of sweat and perfume. "How do you feel?" she asks. I take inventory. My skin burns where the soap has touched damaged flesh. My head feels light with the weight of powder-caked hair. My face feels naked and vulnerable. But I can breathe, fully, deeply, without the taste of powder in my mouth. And for the first time in years, I do not itch. I feel clean, I say wonderingly. Actually clean. Not perfumed, not masked. Clean. Louisa nods agreement. She is touching her hair, running her fingers through the clean strands. It is so soft. I had forgotten hair could be soft. We return to our rooms before dawn. Marcy helps me into bed sheets that still smell of weeks of use, but tomorrow I will ask her to change them, and I lie in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. My face burns. My scalp burns. Every place the soap touched protests against this new treatment. My body has grown so accustomed to poison that cleanliness feels like the attack. But beneath the burning, I feel something else. Hope, perhaps, or possibility. The first stirring of the thought that maybe, just maybe, I do not have to die at 30 from following all the rules. Sleep comes more easily than it has in months. Morning brings consequences. I wake to Marcy's usual entrance, but this time she stops short when she sees me. My face, unpowdered, shows every bit of damage the lead has caused. Red, inflamed, covered in sores. My hair, clean for the first time in weeks, lies soft against the pillow instead of stiff with powder. "What shall I do, miss?" Her voice is carefully neutral. "Your mother will expect." "Apply the powder," I say, "just enough to pass inspection, but loosely. And Marcy, from now on I will be washing every night, with water and soap, every night." She nods. Understanding passes between us, woman to woman, servant to mistress, but also human to human. We are conspirators now, sisters in rebellion. She applies the powder lightly, just enough to create the appearance of normalcy. I can still feel my skin beneath it, can still breathe without tasting lead. It is a compromise, and I hate it, but I am not yet brave enough for full revolution. At breakfast, Mother examines me critically. "You look different this morning, Theodora. I cannot quite place it." "Perhaps I slept better, Mother." She accepts this, returning to her tea, but I catch Father watching me over his newspaper. His eyes linger on my less powdered face, on the way I sit straighter without the corset laced quite so tightly. He says nothing, but something flickers in his expression. Recognition and approval. Beau calls that afternoon. I receive him in the drawing room, wearing less powder than usual. My corset looser, my hair washed clean the night before, and smelling of soap instead of rice powder and lice. He takes my hand, bows over it, and then I see it clearly. This time he inhales. Not the wrinkle of disgust I saw before. Something different. Confusion, perhaps. "Miss Whitlock, you seem different today." Different how, Mr. Thornhill? He struggles to articulate it. More, I cannot say exactly, but something has changed. Perhaps I am simply in better health. The words carry a challenge I did not know I was capable of issuing. His eyes narrow slightly. "We are playing some game now, the rules of which neither of us fully understands. Health is admirable, of course, though I hope you are not adopting any eccentric habits. Boston society values consistency, reliability, traditional feminine virtues. Traditional feminine virtues, like applying poison to your face daily, like lacing yourself so tightly your organs fail, like dying gracefully before 40 and being praised for your delicate constitution. I value life, Mr. Thornhill. Does that count as traditional? The words are out before I can stop them. Bo stares at me. In his eyes, I see the exact moment he realizes that something fundamental has shifted, that the compliant powder-pale Theodora who accepted his courtship is being replaced by someone else, someone who washes her hair with soap, someone who breathes deeply, someone who asks dangerous questions. Miss Whitlock, are you quite well? You sound almost fevered. I assure you I have never been more clear-headed. We sit in uncomfortable silence. The visit, usually a pleasant half hour of meaningless conversation, ends early. As he leaves, he does not kiss my hand. He simply bows stiffly and departs. I watch him go from the window. Marcy appears at my elbow, silent as always. He will break the engagement, she says quietly. I know. Your mother will be furious. I know. You will be ruined, unmarriageable. A cautionary tale told to other young ladies about the dangers of eccentricity. I know. I turn from the window to face her. But I will be alive, and I will be clean, and I will be breathing, and somehow, Marcy, those things seem more important than they did a week ago. She smiles. It is a real smile this time, not the careful servant's smile she usually wears. Oui, mademoiselle, they are. 3 days later, Beau sends a letter. It arrives at breakfast, delivered by a footman in the Thornhill livery. Mother opens it. She always opens my correspondence as is proper, and her face goes deathly pale beneath her powder. Theodora, her voice shakes. Mr. Thornhill he has ended the engagement. The room goes silent. Father lowers his newspaper. Louisa stops pretending to eat her egg. He says, Mother's hands tremble as she holds the letter. He says that you have changed, that you have become unsuitably modern in your habits, that he fears your influence on his future household would be destabilizing. I feel something inside me that I did not expect. Not grief, not shame. Relief, pure clean relief, like water washing away poison. I see, I say calmly. That is unfortunate. Unfortunate, Mother's voice rises. Theodora, you are 24 years old. This was your best prospect, your only real prospect, and now it is gone. Do you understand what this means? It means I will not marry a man who preferred me when I was dying. The words drop into the breakfast room like stones into a still pond. Mother gasps. Father's newspaper rustles. Louisa stares at me with wide eyes. How dare you? Mother's face flushes red beneath the powder. How dare you speak so? Beauregard Thornhill is from one of the finest families in Boston. He was willing to overlook your peculiarities, your inadequate dowry. And you have thrown it away with your stubbornness and your strange new habits and my washing, I ask quietly. Is that what you mean, Mother? My habit of bathing with water and soap, like every common woman in Europe, like every healthy woman in the world, except for the refined ladies of Boston who are dying at 30 and 40 and being praised for their delicate constitutions? Mother stands. Her chair scrapes against the floor. Go to your room. Now. Mother, Now, Theodora, before you say something even more disgraceful. I stand. I move toward the door, but at the threshold I stop. I turn back. Mother, when did you start using Whitmore's powder? She blinks. What? The powder. The white powder we all use. When did you start? I was 13. My mother gave me my first jar when I began to mature. Why does this matter? You are 51 now. That is 38 years of daily use. And in those 38 years, how many of your friends have died before their time? How many funerals have you attended for women who wasted away from mysterious ailments? How many times have you heard doctors speak of the delicate female constitution, of women's natural weakness, of the unavoidable fragility of our sex? Her mouth opens, closes. No words come out. I am not being obstinate, Mother. I am trying to survive. And I would like to help Louisa survive too. And you, if you would let me. I leave before she can respond. Behind me, I hear her sink back into her chair. I hear the rustle of her dress, the sound of her trembling hands reaching for her teacup. I hear her crying soft and broken for reasons I do not think she fully understands. In my room, I do not cry. I stand at the window looking out at Beacon Street below, at the parade of carriages and fine ladies in their fine dresses, all of them painted the same ghostly white, all of them moving slowly, carefully, as if one wrong movement might shatter their perfect exteriors, all of them dying. Some quickly, some slowly, but all of them dying. I think of Genevieve Pemberton, who fainted at the tea party. I think of the yellow cast to her skin beneath the powder. I think of how she is planning a wedding for the fall, choosing flowers and fabrics and menus, never knowing that she might not live to see her own celebration. Someone needs to tell her. Someone needs to tell all of them. But who will listen to a ruined woman? Who will trust the word of Theodora Whitlock, spurned by Beauregard Thornhill, shamed by her own mother, whispered about in every drawing room in Boston? Perhaps I think that is precisely who will listen. Not the respectable ladies, not the refined women who have too much invested in the system to question it, but the others, the ones who are already outside, the ones who have nothing left to lose. That night I asked Marcy a question. You mentioned women, other women who wash, who know how to live differently. Where are they? She regards me carefully. They are not women you would normally associate with Miss. They are immigrants. Working women, servants, the Irish Aid Society in the North End. Will they speak with me? A Boston lady coming to the North End. She laughs, but not unkindly. They will think you are slumming or mad, or both. I am probably both. Will you take me anyway? She is silent for a long moment. Then, yes, mademoiselle, I will take you. 2 nights later, after mother has taken her laudanum and father has retreated to his study, Marcy and I slip out of the house. We take no carriage. We wear plain dresses, ones that will not mark us immediately as women from Beacon Hill. I have washed my face clean of powder, and in the gaslight I look like what I am, a woman whose skin has been damaged by years of poison, who is trying desperately to heal. We walk through streets I have never walked before, past tenements where entire families live in spaces smaller than my bedroom, past shops that stay open late selling goods to people who work 12 hours a day and have no servants to shop for them, past women who walk alone, unescorted, their faces bare of powder, their bodies moving freely in dresses without corsets. They look alive, tired perhaps, worn by labor, but alive, not delicate, not fragile, not hovering on the edge of decorative invalidism. Alive. Marcy leads me to a building in the North End. It is not elegant. The paint is peeling. The stairs creak. But through the windows I can see light and hear voices. Women's voices speaking in accents I barely recognize. Irish, Italian, German. The languages of immigrants, of people Boston society considers beneath notice. Marcy knocks. A woman opens the door. She is perhaps 40, with the strong build of someone who has worked her entire life. Her face is lined but healthy. Her hands are red and rough. She smells of soap. She looks at me, at my damaged face and my plain dress and my obvious discomfort, and something shifts in her expression. Marcy Desmond, she says. Is this the one you mentioned? This is Miss Theodora Whitlock, Marcy says. She wishes to learn. The woman, Mrs. Fiona O'Rourke, I learn later, steps aside. Then she may enter, but she must listen. No airs, no lectures. If she truly wishes to learn, she must be willing to hear truth from those she has been taught to despise. I am willing, I say. She regards me for another long moment. Then she nods and lets us in. The room is crowded with women, perhaps 30 of them, ranging in age from 16 to 60. They sit on benches on the floor on windowsills. They are drinking tea, strong tea, not the weak stuff served in Boston drawing rooms, and speaking in a mixture of English and other languages. When I enter, the conversation stops. 30 pairs of eyes turn to examine me. I see in their faces skepticism, curiosity, and something harder. Judgment, perhaps. The knowledge that women like me have looked down on women like them for all their bemights. This is Theodora Whitlock, Mrs. O'Rourke says. She comes to learn about washing, about living without powder and perfume and corsets, about staying alive. Someone laughs. It is not a kind laugh. Why should we teach her? A young woman stands. She is perhaps my age, with dark hair and green eyes. Why should we share what we know with someone who has spent her life thinking we are filth? Because I say, and my voice surprises me with its steadiness, you are right, I have thought that. I was taught to think that. I was taught that you were common, dirty, unrefined, and I was taught that I was clean, refined, virtuous. But I have just learned that I have been poisoning myself for 11 years, that my mother is dying from 38 years of poisoning, that everything I was taught about cleanliness was a lie designed to keep me weak and dependent and dying young. I step further into the room. You do not owe me your knowledge. You do not owe me anything. But if you are willing to teach me, I am willing to learn. And more than that, I am willing to use what I learned to teach other women, the ones who are still trapped in the same lies I believed. The young woman with green eyes stares at me. And they will listen to you, those refined ladies. They will believe a woman who has been cast out for washing her face. I do not know, I admit, but I have to try, because my sister is 16 and she has been using poison powder for 4 years, and if I do nothing, she will die before she is 30, and I cannot let that happen. Silence. Then Mrs. O'Rourke speaks. Sit down, Miss Whitlock. Have some tea, real tea strong enough to wake the dead. And we will teach you what every woman in Europe knows but Boston ladies have forgotten. How to live. I sit. Someone hands me a cup of tea. It is indeed strong, bitter, and bracing. I drink it without sugar, without cream, feeling it burn all the way down. And then I listen. They teach me everything. How to make soap from leavery and fat. How to wash clothes properly in hot water, with real soap hanging them in sunlight to dry. How to clean a home without poisoning everyone in it. How to manage monthly courses without infection. How to eat food that nourishes rather than weakens. How to breathe. How to move. How to exist in a body without constantly trying to compress it, hide it, apologize for it. They teach me about the secret practices I discovered on my own. The urine facial wash. Yes, some desperate women do this, believing old wives' tales about its purifying properties. The ash used as deodorant in shoes, creating a paste of sweat and soot that breeds infection. The onion placed under the pillow, supposedly to draw out bad breath, but actually doing nothing except making the room reek. These are not refinement, Mrs. O'Rourke says. These are desperation. When women are forbidden to use water, they turn to anything else. Urine, ash, vinegar, anything except the one thing that actually works: soap and water. She tells me about the hair burning ritual. I have seen it, she says grimly. Women holding their daughter's hair over candle flames trying to kill lice. Sometimes the hair catches fire. I treated a girl last year with burns across half her scalp. Her mother was trying to make her clean for her debut. Instead, she scarred her for life. They teach me how to truly care for hair without powder. Weekly washing with soap, combing with a clean comb, sunlight and air. Simple, effective, nothing mysterious or dangerous about it. They teach me about undergarments. Drawers are not indecent, one woman says firmly. She is a seamstress originally from Italy. They are practical. They keep the body clean. They absorb sweat so that outer clothes last longer. Every woman in Europe wears them. Only in Boston do ladies think that modesty means having nothing between their bodies and their dresses. The impact of this becomes clear. Without proper undergarments, women develop infections, rashes, sores. The thick layers of petticoats and dresses pressed directly against skin become breeding grounds for bacteria. It takes hours. The tea grows cold. The night deepens. Outside, Boston sleeps in its refined ignorance. But in this room, in this crowded, peeling common room, I am learning truths that may save my life. Finally, as dawn approaches, Mrs. O'Rourke speaks to me directly. Miss Whitlock, you understand what will happen if you pursue this path. You have already lost your engagement. You will lose more. Friends will shun you. Your mother may cast you out entirely. Boston society will call you mad, vulgar, a cautionary tale. I understand. And you will do it anyway. I think of Louisa's face as she washed her hair for the first time. I think of the clean feeling of my skin without powder. I think of breathing deeply, of sleeping without itching, of the possibility, just the possibility of seeing 30 years old. Yes, I say, I will do it anyway. She nods slowly. Then we will help you, not because we owe you anything, but because every woman who escapes that poison trap is a victory, and because perhaps, just perhaps, you can reach women we cannot. I will try. Try hard, Miss Whitlock, because I have buried too many women who died from beauty. I would rather see them live in disgrace than die in refinement. Marcy and I walk home through the pre-dawn streets. My head is full of new knowledge. My hands carry out a packaged soap, real soap made by the women of the Irish Aid Society. A gift, an investment in my survival. We slip back into the house as the first light breaks over Boston. In my room, I hide the soap in my wardrobe wrapped in plain cotton, where Mother will never think to look. Then I sit at my writing desk and begin to write. Not a diary entry, not a letter, something else. A pamphlet, a warning, a guide. A Lady's True Guide to Health, I title it. And I begin to tell the truth that Boston has been hiding for generations. The truth that beauty is killing us, and that we have the power to stop it. I write until my damaged hands cramp, until the sun is fully risen, until I hear Mother stirring in her room preparing for another day of vinegar and powder and slow death. I write because I am 24 years old and I have perhaps 6 years left if I am fortunate. And I intend to use every single one of those years to wage war on the lies that have been killing women for generations. The rebellion has begun, not with armies or speeches or grand gestures, but with soap and water, and one woman's refusal to die quietly. The pamphlet takes 3 weeks to write. Each night after the house falls silent, I sit at my desk and document what I have learned. Not in the flowery language of ladies' magazines, not in the cold clinical terms of medical journals. In plain words that any woman can understand, I tell the truth. I write about lead, about how it accumulates in bone and organ tissue, about how the white powder we apply to look refined and is slowly destroying our livers, our nervous systems, our ability to bear healthy children. I write about corsets, about crushed organs and broken ribs and sores that never heal, about how reducing your waist to please others is the same as slowly suffocating yourself for applause. I write about bathing, about how water does not cause consumption, about how soap cleans without poisoning, about how the immigrants we despise are surviving while we are dying because they wash themselves and we do not. I write about all of it: the urine facial washes, the ash deodorant, the onions under pillows, the hair burning, the lack of undergarments, the beds unchanged for months, the dresses unwashed for weeks. Every hidden, shameful practice that we have been taught is normal. I write about the lies, all of them. Every rule I was taught, every protocol I followed, every piece of advice that led me closer to an early grave. Louisa helps me. She has become my co-conspirator, my fellow rebel. Each night she washes with soap and water. Each morning she applies just enough powder to pass Mother's inspection. Each day she grows slightly stronger while Mother grows weaker. The contrast between them sharpens daily. Mother's hands shake more violently. Her skin takes on a deeper yellow cast. She has stopped attending social functions claiming fatigue. The truth which we do not speak aloud is that she can barely walk from her bedroom to the drawing room without needing to rest. Father notices. I catch him watching Mother with an expression I have never seen before. Not love exactly. We are not that kind of family, but something like regret, something like the dawning realization that he has been complicit in her slow murder. One evening he stops me in the hallway. Theodora. His voice is gruff. He is not a man comfortable with emotion. I have been speaking with Dr. Blackwood about your mother's condition. Yes, Father. He says. Father clears his throat. He says that she is suffering from chronic lead poisoning, that it is likely irreversible at this stage, that she has perhaps a year, 2 at most. I already know this. Dr. Blackwood told me weeks ago, but hearing Father say it aloud makes it real in a way it was not before. I am sorry, Father. Are you Botington? His eyes meet mine. You who have stopped using the powder. You who bathe with water like a common woman. You who have lost your engagement because of your eccentric habits. Are you truly sorry? I consider lying, consider offering the comfort that a good daughter should provide. But I am tired of lies. I am sorry that Mother is dying. I am not sorry that I have chosen to live. He is silent for a long moment. Then he nods, once sharp and decisive. Dr. Blackwood also tells me that you are writing something. A pamphlet about hygiene. My heart stops. Father, How much will it cost to print 1,000 copies? I stare at him. What? 1,000 copies to distribute? How much? I do not know. I had not thought that far. I assumed Mother would forbid. Your mother, Father says quietly, is dying because she believed every lie she was ever told about how a lady should live. I will not watch my daughters die the same way. He pulls out his wallet. Find a printer. Tell him Judge Whitlock will pay. Print your pamphlet. Tell your truths. He hands me $50. More money than I have ever held in my life. Father, I do not understand. You have never. I have been a coward, Theodora. A silent coward who watched his wife poison herself for 38 years and said nothing because it was not my place to question women's matters. His voice breaks slightly. I will not be a coward about my daughters. He walks away before I can respond. I stand in the hallway holding $50 and the permission I never thought I would receive. That night, I finish the pamphlet. The printer I find is a small operation in the West End run by a man named Atticus Hartwell. He is young for a printer, perhaps 35, with ink-stained fingers and progressive ideas. When I explain what I want to print, his eyebrows rise. A Lady's True Guide to Health, he reads from my manuscript, by a concerned woman of Boston. He looks up at me. This is inflammatory, Miss Whitlock. You are essentially accusing the cosmetics industry of murder. I'm accusing them of selling poison while knowing it is poison. Is that not murder? Legally, that would be difficult to prove. Morally, he smiles, I believe you are absolutely correct, and I will print your pamphlet. But I must warn you, there will be consequences. The cosmetics manufacturers have deep pockets and powerful friends. I understand. Do you? Because once this is distributed, once women start reading it and questioning what they have been taught, you will become a target, not just socially, financially, perhaps even legally. I think of Mother upstairs, hands trembling, skin yellowing, dying by inches in her refined bedroom. I think of Louisa, 16 years old and finally starting to heal now that she has stopped poisoning herself. I think of Genevieve Pemberton and all the other women I have seen faint, sick, and waste away while everyone nodded and spoke of delicate constitutions. Print it, I say he does. 1,000 copies of A Lady's True Guide to Health, 16 pages, plain paper, simple binding. Nothing elegant or refined. Just truth printed in black ink on white paper. The first 100 copies I distribute myself. I leave them in churches, in libraries, on benches in public gardens. I slip them into the hands of women that I pass on the street murmuring, for your health, please read. Some women crumple them immediately offended by the very suggestion that their beauty practices might be harmful. But others clutch the pamphlets tightly. Others look at me with eyes that hold recognition. The recognition of symptoms they have been experiencing but never had words for. The recognition of truth they have suspected but never dared speak aloud. Within a week, the pamphlets are circulating through Boston. Within 2 weeks, I start receiving letters. Some are angry. How dare you suggest that refined ladies are harming themselves? You are clearly deranged. I will pray for your poor diseased mind. My daughter will never read your filth. But others break my heart and fill me with hope in equal measure. Thank you for writing this. I have been sick for years, and doctors told me it was natural female weakness. Now I understand it is poison. I have stopped using the powder. Already I feel better. I am 17 years old. My mother gave me Whitmore's powder for my birthday. After reading your pamphlet, I threw it away. She was furious. I do not care. I want to live to see 25. My sister died last year at age 28. The doctor said it was heart failure, but she had all the symptoms you describe. Lead poisoning. She was murdered by beauty standards, and we never knew. I read every letter. I keep them in a box under my bed. Evidence, testimony, proof that I am not alone in this revelation. The Irish Aid Society helps me distribute more copies. Marcy takes stacks to her friends in service. They leave them in the houses where they work, slipping them into mistresses' rooms when no one is watching. Subversion from below. Revolution in the servants' quarters. By the 4th week, something shifts. The Boston Ladies Journal, a magazine I have read faithfully for years, publishes an editorial. A dangerous pamphlet is circulating among impressionable young women. It makes unfounded claims about cosmetic safety and encourages unsanitary bathing practices. We urge all right-thinking ladies to disregard this hysterical screed and maintain proper standards of refinement. The editorial does not name me, but it does not need to. Everyone knows who wrote A Lady's True Guide to Health. Everyone knows that Theodora Whitlock, the ruined girl who lost her engagement to Beauregard Thornhill, is the source of this disruption. The social exile that began with my broken engagement becomes complete. Invitations stop arriving. Former friends cross the street when they see me. At church, women whisper behind gloved hands, their powder-white faces turning away. I do not care, or rather, I care less than I thought I would, because for every door that closes in Beacon Hill, another opens in the North End. For every refined lady who shuns me, 2 working women seek me out asking questions, wanting to learn. I become a teacher. In Mrs. O'Rourke's crowded room, I speak to groups of women about hygiene, real hygiene. Not the vinegar and perfume kind, but the soap and water kind. I demonstrate proper washing. I explain lead poisoning in terms anyone can understand. I answer questions about monthly courses and skincare and how to stay clean without poison. The women who come are not refined. They are laundresses and seamstresses and factory workers. They are immigrants with heavy accents. They are servants who risk their positions by attending, but they are alive, healthy, strong, and they are willing to learn. In September of 1876, Genevieve Pemberton dies. She collapses at her own wedding breakfast, a beautiful bride in white lace and white powder. She is conscious for perhaps an hour before her liver fails completely. The doctor lists cause of death as acute feminine crisis brought on by excitement. Dr. Blackwood, who is called but arrives too late, tells me privately that it was lead poisoning. Advanced, fatal, preventable. Genevieve was 23 years old. I attend the funeral. I am not welcome. Mrs. Pemberton glares at me from across the church, but I go anyway. I need to see. I need to bear witness. Genevieve's coffin is lined with white satin. Her face at death is painted white with powder. Even in death, even though the powder helped kill her, they powder her face for the viewing. Because appearance matters more than truth. Even in death. Especially in death. I stand before her coffin for a long time. Other mourners move past, dabbing at their powder-white faces with perfumed handkerchiefs. I hear whispers. Such a tragedy. So young. Her poor family. No one says we killed her. With our standards and our products and our insistence that pale skin equals virtue. We murdered her, and we will murder the next girl and the next until someone stops us. After the funeral, I return to Atticus Hartwell's print shop. I need to print more pamphlets, I tell him. 5,000 this time. 5,000, he blinks. Miss Whitlock, that will cost. I know what it will cost. I pull out the money Father has been quietly giving me. I also need to print something else. A longer work, a full account. Everything. Names, dates, symptoms, deaths. I want to document it all. That could be dangerous. Naming names, accusing specific companies. Genevieve Pemberton was 23 years old. She died this morning at her own wedding. From poison that her mother bought her, that society told her to use, that killed her slowly over 10 years. My voice shakes but does not break. I am done being safe. I am done being quiet. I am going to tell the truth, and I am going to name every single person and company that profits from these deaths. He studies me for a long moment. Then he nods. I will print it. But Miss Whitlock, you should know that Whitmore & Sons has already threatened to sue anyone who publishes accusations against them. They have lawyers, money, influence. So do I now. My father is Judge Cornelius Whitlock. He has promised to represent me if it comes to that. This is not entirely true. Father has not promised anything explicitly, but I feel in my bones that he will support me. Because Mother is dying in front of his eyes, and even Judge Cornelius Whitlock cannot ignore evidence presented that clearly. Over the next 6 weeks, I write my full account. Not a pamphlet this time. A book. I call it The Poisoned Mirror, a Boston Lady's Confession. I write about my own experience. 11 years of powder, the trembling hands, the damaged skin, the slow poisoning that everyone called refinement. I write about Mother. 38 years of faithful adherence to beauty standards. 38 years of poison accumulating in her bones, her impending death at 51. I write about Genevieve and all the other young women who have died. I name them. I list their ages. I describe their symptoms. And I name the companies. Whitmore & Sons, Beaumont Cosmetics, Palmer's Perfect Powder, every manufacturer who has grown rich selling poison to women, knowing it was poison, choosing profit over lives. I write about the hidden practices, the urine facials, the ash deodorant, the onions under pillows, the hair-burning rituals, the lack of proper undergarments, the beds unchanged for months, every shameful secret that refined ladies hide. I write with the fury of someone who has been lied to for her entire life, with the grief of someone watching her mother die, with the desperate hope of someone trying to save her sister. The manuscript is 200 pages when I finish. Atticus reads it in one sitting, then looks up at me with something like awe. This is extraordinary, Miss Whitlock, and it will destroy you, socially, financially, perhaps legally. Are you certain? I think about the box of letters under my bed, women thanking me for saving their lives, women sharing stories of sisters and mothers and daughters lost to poison disguised as beauty. Print it, I say. He prints 500 copies. Father pays, though his face is grim when he sees the final accounting. $250, half a year's income for many families. But Father writes the check without comment. Your mother asked me today why you have become so difficult, he says as he signs his name. Why you cannot simply be a normal young lady. What did you tell her? I told her that you are trying to stay alive, and that perhaps normal young ladies do not live very long. He hands me the check. She did not understand, but I think somewhere deep down she knows you are right, and that terrifies her more than anything. The book is published in November of 1876. By December, I am being sued by 3 separate cosmetics companies for defamation. Father, true to my hopes, represents me without hesitation. The trial begins in February of 1877. Whitmore & Sons versus Theodora Whitlock. They are suing for $10,000 in damages. They claim I have defamed their product with false accusations. They have hired the finest lawyers in Boston. They are confident they will win. They have not counted on Judge Cornelius Whitlock, or on Dr. Silas Blackwood, Or on the 200 women who arrive at the courthouse on the first day of trial, many of them carrying copies of my book, all of them willing to testify about what the powder has done to them. The courtroom is packed, every seat filled, women standing in the aisles. The judge, not Father as he is representing me, but Judge Samuel Harrison, a man of 60 who has known Father for 30 years, looks at the crowd with undisguised surprise. The lawyers for Whitmore and Sons open with confidence. Your Honor, this is a simple case of defamation. Miss Whitlock has published lies about our client's product causing significant financial harm. We ask for damages and a court order preventing further publication of her libelous material. Father stands. Your Honor, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. We intend to prove that every word Miss Whitlock wrote is accurate, that Whitmore's pearl complexion powder contains lead carbonate in concentrations sufficient to cause chronic poisoning, that the company has known this for years, and that they have chosen to continue selling a lethal product because it is profitable. The Whitmore lawyers object. The judge overrules. I am interested to hear this evidence, Mr. Whitlock. Proceed. Doctor. Blackwood takes the stand first. He brings with him a leather satchel filled with documentation, medical records, autopsy reports, chemical analyses of Whitmore's powder showing 72% lead carbonate content. He testifies for 3 hours. His voice never wavers. He presents case after case of women poisoned by cosmetics. He explains lead toxicity in clear, devastating terms. The Whitmore lawyers try to discredit him. Doctor. Blackwood, is it not true that you are known among your colleagues as having radical views on hygiene? If you mean that I believe women should wash with soap and water rather than poison themselves with lead, then yes, I am radical. Laughter ripples through the courtroom. The judge does not silence it. Next, Father calls me to the stand. I have dressed carefully for this moment. No powder, no perfume. My face shows all this damage the lead has done, the red patches, the scars, the premature aging. My hands tremble visibly as I place them on the Bible to swear my oath. I tell my story. 11 years of daily powder use, the symptoms, the diagnosis, the realization that I had been poisoning myself while believing I was beautifying myself. I show the jury my hands. I explain the tremor. I describe the metallic taste that never leaves my mouth, the headaches that never fully fade, the knowledge that I have perhaps 5 years left if I am fortunate. I am 25 years old, I say to the jury. 12 men, all middle-aged or older, all of them with wives, daughters, sisters. I should have my entire life ahead of me. Instead, I have 5 years, perhaps less, because I trusted Whitmore and Sons when they told me their powder was safe, when they told me it would make me beautiful, when they failed to mention it would also kill me. The courtroom is silent. Then Father presents the evidence that wins the case. Internal company memos from Whitmore and Sons, obtained through means I do not ask about. Documents proving that the company knew about lead toxicity as early as 1868, that they calculated the cost of reformulating their product versus the cost of settling lawsuits from deaths, that they chose to continue using lead because it was cheaper to pay grieving families than to change their formula. The Whitmore lawyers scramble. They object. They claim the documents are forgeries. But Father has certified copies. He has handwriting analysis. He has testimony from a former Whitmore employee who confirms their authenticity. The trial lasts 6 days. On the 7th day, the jury deliberates for less than 2 hours. They find for me. Not only do they dismiss Whitmore's defamation claim, they recommend that the district attorney investigate the company for criminal negligence. More than that, Judge Harrison makes a statement from the bench that newspapers will quote for weeks. I have sat on this bench for 20 years. I have presided over murders and robberies and every form of crime. But I have never seen anything so coldly calculated, so deliberately evil as what has been presented in this courtroom. Whitmore and Sons knew their product was poisonous. They knew it was killing women, and they continued to sell it because profit mattered more than lives. He looks directly at the Whitmore lawyers. I am recommending that the state legislature investigate all cosmetic manufacturers. What has been done to the women of Massachusetts is unconscionable. It must end. The courtroom erupts, women cheer, reporters rush for the doors racing to file their stories. The Whitmore lawyers gather their papers in furious silence. I sit in my chair trembling, not from lead this time, from relief, from vindication, from the overwhelming realization that I have won. Father grips my shoulder. You did it, Theodora. We did it, I correct him. That night, the story is front-page news in every Boston paper. Cosmetics company exposed lead powder kills. Judge recommends investigation of beauty industry. Boston lady wins case against poison peddlers. By morning, three other cosmetics companies have announced they are reformulating their products to remove lead. By the end of the week, sales of all white powder products have dropped by 60%. The market has spoken, and it has chosen life over beauty. But winning the trial does not mean winning the war. Mother dies in April of 1877. She wastes away slowly, her liver failing, her skin turning the deep yellow of complete organ shutdown. She is lucid until the very end, which is perhaps the cruelest part. She knows she is dying, she knows why. On her final day, she asks to speak with me alone. I sit beside her bed. She is barely recognizable. The woman who was so particular about her appearance now lies in stained night clothes, her hair unwashed, her face free of powder, for perhaps the first time in 40 years. Without the cosmetic mask, I can see her clearly. The woman she might have been if she had been allowed to live instead of performing. Theodora. Her voice is a whisper. I was wrong. Mother, you do not need to. I do. I need to say it. She grips my hand with surprising strength. I taught you to poison yourself. I enforced every rule that was killing you. I called you difficult when you tried to save yourself. I was wrong about everything. Tears run down my face. You were doing what you thought was right, what you were taught. That is no excuse. I should have questioned. I should have thought. I should have valued your life more than social approval. She coughs, a wet, rattling sound. Promise me something. Anything. Louisa, promise me you will keep her safe, keep her alive. Do not let her die the way I am dying. I promise, Mother. She has stopped using the powder. She washes with soap. She is healing. Mother smiles. It is weak but genuine. Good. That is good. Her eyes drift closed. I wish I had been brave enough to stop, to question, to live. You are brave now, Mother. You are speaking truth now. Too late, she whispers, but not too late for others. You must keep fighting, Theodora. Keep telling the truth, no matter what it costs. Those are her last coherent words. She slips into unconsciousness shortly after. She dies that evening with Father and Louisa and me sitting beside her bed. She is 51 years old. She used lead powder for 38 years. She died from chronic lead poisoning, organ failure, and a lifetime of following rules designed to destroy her. Her death certificate lists cause of death as natural decline. Dr. Blackwood, who signs it, looks at me with tired eyes. The truth would not bring her back, and the legal battle would destroy your father. I understand, but I also add Mother's name to my list, the list of women killed by beauty standards. The list I keep adding to, writing each name, carefully honoring each death, by remembering it, refusing to let their murders be forgotten. Vivian Whitlock, age 51, 38 years of poison. Dead. After Mother's death, something shifts in me. The grief is real, but so is the rage. Mother's deathbed confession, her admission that she was wrong, that she wasted her life, that she helped waste mine, burns in my chest like an ember that will never cool. I increase my work, more pamphlets, more speaking engagements at churches and community halls, more letters to newspapers, more testimony before the Massachusetts State Legislature, which is now investigating the cosmetics industry. Louisa helps. At 17 now, she has grown into a formidable ally. She speaks at women's groups. She demonstrates proper hygiene techniques. She tells her own story of poisoning and recovery with a clarity that moves audiences to tears. Together, we train other women. The Irish Aid Society becomes a hub of hygiene education. Mrs. O'Rourke organizes classes. Marcy teaches servants how to subvert their employers' dangerous practices, how to protect themselves and plant seeds of doubt in the minds of the women they serve. We create a network. Women teaching women, truth spreading through whispered conversations and secretly passed pamphlets, and the undeniable evidence of healthier bodies. The cosmetics industry fights back. They hire doctors to publish papers claiming lead is harmless. They place advertisements declaring that Theodora Whitlock is a hysteric, a madwoman, a danger to feminine virtue. They threaten lawsuits against newspapers that print my articles. But the truth is a stubborn thing, and it has momentum now. By 1878, Massachusetts has passed the Cosmetic Safety Act. It requires all cosmetics manufacturers to list ingredients. It bans lead content above 1%. It establishes penalties for companies that knowingly sell harmful products. It is not everything I wanted. 1% is still too much, but it is progress, real measurable progress. Other states begin to follow. New York in 1879, Pennsylvania in 1880. The movement spreads beyond Boston, beyond Massachusetts, carried by women who read my book and recognized their own symptoms in my words. I received letters from across the country, from California, from Texas, from places I have never been and likely will never see. Women thanking me, women telling me their stories, women staying alive because they learned to question what they had been taught. Each letter goes into the box under my bed. Each one represents a life saved. A woman who will see 30, 40, 50. A woman who will watch her own daughters grow up, who will break the cycle of poisoning. By 1880, I have trained over 500 women in proper hygiene. Louisa has trained 300 more. The Irish Aid Society runs weekly classes that are always full. The change is visible now. In churches, I see more women with natural skin color instead of powder white faces. In markets, I see more women moving freely instead of shuffling in too tight corsets. On the streets, I see women who look healthy instead of refined. The tide is turning slowly, too slowly to save everyone, but turning nonetheless. In December of 1881, I turned 30 years old. Dr. Blackwood told me when I was 24 that I had perhaps 5 years if I stopped poisoning myself. It has been 6 years. I am alive, still trembling, still bearing the scars of 11 years of lead exposure, but alive. The party Louisa organizes for my birthday is small. Father, Louisa, Dr. Blackwood, Mrs. O'Rourke, and the core group from the Irish Aid Society. Marcy, who is now my friend more than my servant, who has been teaching hygiene classes and has saved countless lives with her knowledge. Atticus Hartwell comes as well, the printer who took a chance on my first pamphlet, who has printed everything I have written since despite threats from the cosmetics industry, who has become over the years something more than a colleague. We do not speak of marriage. I am ruined, remember. Unmarriageable. No respectable man would have me. But Atticus is not a respectable man. He is a radical, a printer of subversive materials, a supporter of women's education and workers' rights, and every progressive cause Boston society finds distasteful. We are well matched. That night, after the others have left, he stays to help me clean. We work in comfortable silence, washing dishes with soap and water naturally and putting away chairs. 30 years old, he says finally. How does it feel to be ancient? I laugh. Better than being dead at 25, which is what I expected. You have done remarkable work, Thea. You know that, yes, the lives you have saved, the laws you have changed, the entire industry you have forced to reform. Not me alone, all of us. Every woman who has spoken up, every doctor who has told the truth, every servant who has whispered warnings to her mistress. But you started it. You were the spark. I consider this. Perhaps. Or perhaps I was simply the one who was angry enough and privileged enough to make noise. There were women dying of this for generations before me. They just did not have the position or the resources to fight back, which is why you have been using your position and your resources to amplify their voices. I try my... He takes my hands. They still tremble. They will always tremble. The damage is permanent. Theodora Whitlock, you are the most extraordinary woman I have ever known, and I would very much like to court you properly if you would permit it. I stare at him. Atticus, you understand what that would mean. I am ruined. Associating with me openly would damage your business, your reputation. My business prints radical pamphlets in labor newspapers. My reputation is already damaged among everyone who matters to Boston society. He smiles. And besides, I find I prefer extraordinary women who speak uncomfortable truths to proper ladies who die quietly. Call it a character flaw. I laugh again. It feels good to laugh. I have spent so many years fighting grieving, raging. Laughter feels like a luxury I have not allowed myself. Yes, I say, you may court me properly, though I warn you I am very improper. I am counting on it. We marry in the spring of 1882. It is a small ceremony. Father walks me down the aisle, his face showing more emotion than I have ever seen from him. Louisa stands as my attendant. Doctor. Blackwood gives a speech about how marriage to a reformer is likely to be exhausting and how Atticus should prepare himself for a life of disruption. Atticus says he is looking forward to it. We do not have a wedding breakfast with 200 guests. We do not serve weak tea and make small talk. Instead, we invite the women who have fought alongside me. Mrs. O'Rourke, Marcy, the teachers from the Irish Aid Society, the survivors of lead poisoning who are now helping others survive. We eat real food, strong tea, fresh bread, cheese that has not been selected for its delicate appearance but for its taste. We talk honestly about the work still to be done. We plan our next campaigns. It is the least traditional wedding Boston has ever seen. It is also, I think, one of the most honest. That night in the small apartment, Atticus and I will share above his print shop, I write in my journal. Not as Miss Theodora Whitlock. That woman died when she stopped using powder, when she chose survival over social approval. I write as Mrs. Theodora Hartwell. A woman who has lived to 31 when she was told she would die at 25. A woman who has helped change laws and save lives and force an entire industry to reform. A woman who is still angry, still fighting, still refusing to die quietly. I write late into the night documenting everything that has happened. Updating my list of the dead, it now contains over 300 names. Creating my list of the living, over 2,000 women who have written to me, who have learned to wash with soap, who have stopped poisoning themselves. 2,000 lives against 300 deaths. The mathematics of survival. It is not enough. It will never be enough. Every death on my list represents a woman who should be alive, a mother who should be watching her children grow, a daughter who should be seeing her own future. But it is something, real measurable something, and I am not done. The final entry in my journal, written on my 31st birthday, is addressed to the future. To the women who will read this long after I am gone, to the daughters of tomorrow, I write. My name is Theodora Whitlock Hartwell. I was born in 1846 in Boston, Massachusetts. I was poisoned for 11 years by products that were marketed as beauty essentials. I was told that water was dangerous and powder was safe. I was told that restricting my breathing was refined and breathing deeply was common. I was told that suffering in silence was virtuous and speaking uncomfortable truths was hysterical. I was lied to about everything. By the time I learned the truth, the damage was done. My hands will tremble for the rest of my life. My liver is permanently scarred. I will likely not see 50, but I will see 40. And I will use every year I have been given to fight for the women who come after me. I cannot undo the past. I cannot bring back my mother or Genevieve Pemberton or the hundreds of other women whose names I have documented. But I can make their deaths mean something. I can ensure that fewer daughters follow them into early graves. This is my legacy, not refinement, not beauty, not the appearance of perfection. Truth, survival. The stubborn insistence that women's lives matter more than women's appearances. If you are reading this, you live in a world that is different from mine. I hope it is better. I hope you can bathe without being called common. I hope you can breathe deeply without being called unladylike. I hope you can exist in your body without constantly apologizing for it, hiding it, destroying it to meet someone else's standards. If you are reading this and those hopes have not been realized, then I charge you with a mission. Count the bodies. Name the killers. Refuse to shut up. Do not accept that suffering is the price of being female. Do not accept that pain is the cost of beauty. Do not accept that silence is the mark of virtue. Question everything, especially the things everyone agrees on, especially the things that hurt you, especially the things you are told never to discuss. I started this fight because I was dying and I got angry about it. I continue it because too many women are still dying and I am still angry about it. When I am gone, I hope others will carry this anger forward. Not the destructive kind that burns everything, but the productive kind that builds something better from the ashes of broken systems. Be angry, be loud, be alive. That is the only beauty standard that matters. With hope for your future and love from the past, Theodora Whitlock, Hartwell, Boston, Massachusetts, December 1881. I do not live to see 50. Dr. Blackwood was right about that. The lead damage is too extensive, too deep in my bones and organs. I die in November of 1884, 3 weeks before my 33rd birthday. But I die having accomplished something. The Cosmetic Safety Act has spread to 42 states. Lead-based powders have been banned in 38. Hygiene education is now taught in public schools across Massachusetts and is spreading to other states. The mortality rate for women ages 18 to 40 has dropped from 34 per thousand in 1870 to 19 per thousand in 1884. That is a 44% reduction. Thousands of lives saved annually. I die knowing that my sister Louisa is healthy, thriving, studying to become one of the first female physicians in America. That she will carry this work forward long after I am gone. I die knowing that my husband Atticus will continue printing the truth-giving voice to those who would otherwise be silenced. I die knowing that Mrs. O'Rourke's Irish Aid Society has expanded to 12 cities, teaching hygiene and saving lives in every one. I die knowing that the box under my bed, now boxes plural, contains over 5,000 letters from women who are alive because they learned to question what they had been taught. 5,000 lives against the 11 years of poison, against the permanent damage, against the early death. Worth it. When they bury me, Louisa insists on one thing. No powder on my face, no cosmetic mask, just my real face scarred and damaged but honest. At the funeral, Dr. Blackwood gives the eulogy. His words are simple. Theodora Whitlock Hartwell refused to die quietly. She refused to accept that her suffering was inevitable. She refused to stay silent while others suffered the same way. She counted bodies. She named killers. She saved lives. That is her legacy. That is how we honor her. By continuing to fight, by refusing to shut up, by staying alive. 5,000 women attend my funeral, not refined ladies in powder and perfume, working women, immigrants, survivors. Women who are alive because I got angry enough to question the lies. They do not weep quietly. They do not suffer in silence. They speak. They share stories. They promise to continue the work. This is how revolutions persist, not through individual heroes who fight alone and die martyrs, but through communities of ordinary people who learn to question, to share knowledge, to support each other in staying alive. I am not a hero. I am simply a woman who got poisoned, got angry, and got loud about it. But I am part of something larger. A movement of women choosing survival over silence, life over appearance, truth over comfort. And that movement does not die with me. It grows. One woman, 11 years of poisoning, 9 years of fighting. Result? Cosmetic Safety Act passed in 42 states by 1900. Leading cosmetics banned in 48 states by 1910. Female mortality ages 18 to 40 reduced from 34 per thousand, 1870, to 8 per thousand, 1900. Estimated lives saved 1.4 million American women between 1876 and 1900. One woman started this, but 2,000 women carried it forward. 20,000 women taught their daughters differently. 200,000 women questioned the lies they had been told. 2 million women over 3 generations chose to live instead of dying beautifully. The cosmetics industry adapted. They reformulated. They stopped using lead. Not because they wanted to, because they were forced to. Because women like Theodora Whitlock refused to shut up. Because women like you reading this now continue to refuse. The fight is not over. Different products, different standards, different lies. Same basic structure, profit over people appearance, over health, silence over survival. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, count the bodies. Name the killers. Refuse to shut up. For Theodora, for Vivian, for Genevieve, for all the women whose names fill those boxes, for your daughter, your granddaughter, yourself. Choose life. Choose truth. Choose fighting. And never ever die quietly.